So how does the team dynamic change in the second season since the librarians in training now graduated, they're off on their own?
Well, I think, in the first season there was this big question of who are you, why are you here? So this season it's really about them coming to appreciate how much better they are when they work together versus when they don't work together. Because in the interim from last season to this season, they've all been off on their own, doing their own things. And they've been quite successful at it, and they've actually gotten used to it very much in the way Flynn has. But they discover literally in the first episode that there is a special dynamic when they're together. And then that starts to affect how they move forward over the course of the season. And then learning each other's strengths and weaknesses and who to trust to do what. And then, of course, Eve Baird is trying to figure out how to organize this whole thing, because it's all still crazy to her.
You know what, actually, like I said, I'm a big Leverage fan, and what I loved about Leverage is how you got the characters to just mesh well together. Right. I think that's what makes these shows great, and I feel like you're doing it again with the Librarians. I mean, how much of a process do you take your time to get the right people to kind of work together to make this really cohesive?
Well, that's one thing that I really have to just say a giant thank you to TNT. Because there's a lot of times when you make these television shows or movies where you're getting a lot of actors forced down your throat. Because, this one's a big internet star, or this one has a sex video out on, or whatever it is. But it's not about who's right for the part and who's a really good actor. And when we were putting the show together at TNT, they said best actor wins. And that was a really liberating thing. I wasn't trying to figure out how to star up the show or how to gin up ratings through, that's that person. I was able to just cast people who I knew would be great. And when you do that, you're 80% of the way there. Because what you're talking about, this gelling stuff, I only have a tiny piece of that. They do it. And if you put the right humans in a room together, especially when you're not in Los Angeles, magic can happen. But, you put some egomaniacs together and it ain't going to be pretty.
Speaking of not being in LA, I used to live in Portland, so I wanted to ask if there's any locations that you really want to film in that you haven't.
There's one mansion that we keep trying to get into. I think it's turned into a museum now, and they won't let us inside. They let us shoot on the outside, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They let us shoot the outside, but they haven't let us shoot the inside yet. So that one I'm dying to get into.
Okay.
But no, the thing that's so great about Portland is there's so many different architectural styles in such a short traveling distance that you literally can park the truck. You park your trucks in one spot and then drive to 4 different locations and be all over the world.
Right.
And they're very friendly up there. They don't have agenda. You show up in a neighborhood in Los Angeles to shoot and people are turning up their car radios and hoping that you pay them off some money. You show up in a neighborhood in Portland, people come out of their houses with trays of milk and cookies. It's a different energy. Yeah.
In a show like The Librarians, I've told some of the other people this before, there's a lot of few rules that we can recognize because anything can happen. What's it like to maintain order amongst all this chaos? How do you structure it?
That's the constant thing that we go over and over and over again, because the trouble with doing magic is the temptation to always let it solve your plot point.
Yes.
And so we always try to make real strict rules of what you can do, what you can't do, and then occasionally something will break a rule, but then you have to acknowledge that the rule's broken. You have to freak out over it and figure out why it got broken, and you know what I mean? So we there's a lot of checks and balances between, I keep myself very separate from the writer's room. That's John's room. John is the brains behind this show as far as the stories and the scripts. He runs the writer's room. But when they hand a script over, they hand it to me, and then I see it from a completely different perspective because I wasn't part of that process of creating it.
Yes.
And so I'll say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, or that doesn't work, and then they'll try and give me some crap about why it does, and I'll say, no, it doesn't. And then the third is the network, because they're even farther removed. So then they look at it and say, well, wait a minute, didn't we say in episode 3 last year? Oh, yeah, you're right, we can't do it. So between the three, there's a lot of checks and balances, but we're always looking at that. We're always trying to make sure the cage is strong so that we can be crazy inside the cage.
Got it. So, of course, The Librarians began as a series of movies. Any chance we'll probably see another movie based with these TV characters again?
My hope is that we do well again this season. We were really fortunate in that we broke records all around the world, which was not expected. I mean, thank you. But like in England, we were the highest rated show on the Sci-Fi Channel in the last 5 years. We broke records in Portugal. We broke records in Spain. So the hope is that as it becomes more successful universally, we have more freedom to expand that universe. Because honestly, I've never had more fun making anything than the Librarians. So if I could spend the rest of my career only doing Librarian stuff, I'd be the happiest guy in the world.
Is there like a literary character or historic figure that you really want to put work in?
There's so many. I mean, that's the beauty of having, a library, is that there is no limit of what you could bring in. The one thing you'll see at our show is that we resist aliens. But who knows, maybe we'll break that rule one day.
Besides being really good, what is it about, like, what's your theory on how Librarians just resonates so much? Because you just said it broke records all over the world. Why do you think it's so
I think that we've had this obsession for the last 15 years with superheroes. And they've been done spectacularly well, and they've been done poorly. But these superheroes, they're not bitten by a radioactive spider. They're not stretching. They're not running faster than the speed of light. They're just really smart, And I think that makes it relatable. In other words, what we're basically saying is anyone can be a librarian if they study hard enough, if they read enough, if they use their brains. And I think what resonates is the idea that being smart can be a superpower.
And that's a great segue too, since this is a show about the librarians. And what was your favorite book kind of growing up?
My favorite book growing up?
Growing up.
What would that be in the Librarians?
Well, I don't know if it would fit in the Librarians because it has to do with aliens, and we keep failing that. But my favorite was the White Mountain trilogy. Those books, growing up, just hit all my sci-fi buttons and my genre buttons, and that was a trilogy of books. So I couldn't wait to get the next one.
One last question real quick. What can you tease about the villains of the season?
Well, as I said, they're fictional characters that have come to life. To some degree, they are confined to the narratives of the books they came from. And when they start to break that narrative, the librarians don't know what to do, because that shouldn't happen. And that becomes the dangerous part of it, and also the most intriguing part of it.